Greetings, this is Sanyal, and welcome to the presentation for session 4 of the White Hot Yoga of the Heart. Addressing the gateway of the adept. So at this stage we've gone through the first orange triad of gateways, the heart, the white heat, activation, and now we move into which is the 3 foundations of the way in orange. Now we move into 3 treasures of the life, the adept, the teaching, and the community. The adept, mysteries of lineage and mastery beyond both guru and aspirant centrism. Guru centrism and aspirant centrism. So the adept is up here at the top, and down below here is the teaching and the community. These 3 are the treasures of the life. Maroon, because I gratefully derive them directly from the Buddhist principle of the triple gem. In the Sanskrit language, the Buddha, or awakened one, Dharma, the teaching, the law, the truth, the way, and Sangha, the community, sacred community of those living these 2 other precious treasures, or living with them, associating with them. So to go on here, the basic descriptions of the teaching are, the basic description of the teaching is its formative and ongoing evolutionary importance for all practitioners and realizers in our way. And the community, cultivating the culture and charisma of mutually embodied grace. So these are 3 treasures of the life that we want to cherish and appreciate, of course, understand and recognize as such treasures. And it's my deep joy to go into this in a way that really I haven't been able to in many, many years in my work. Never really did in precisely this kind of format. So let's begin, however, with some gazing. Today I'm playing my flute here, lightning struck black walnut. So it's a white heated piece of wood made for me as a gift from the community back in 1997, I believe it was. And made by an American Indian master flute maker. I think he was a multiple generations, perhaps 7th generation flute maker, whose name was Hawk Littlejohn. And this must have been one of his last flutes, or certainly toward the end of his life. So I'll play, gaze with you for a couple of minutes, and then I'll simply bow to end the gazing. Okay, here we go. the adept, or adept. I typically say adept. Linda Ma and I were just joking before I began, and she sends her love and blessings to everyone. We were joking that way back in the day, because in the very early years of the work, we referred to teachers of our work as adepts. And as I mentioned in an earlier session, I'm pretty sure, that language is still there in the book Waking Down, which was published in early 1998. And we changed because the word kicked up too much made people nervous. It was too grandiose, it was too big. And they got reactions from some students or potential students. So it was important to go along with that. What do you want to say? Stepping down at the time. And now it's time to bring the word back. As I was starting to say, Linda Ma and I used to joke about changing the letters around just slightly. Instead of adept, you have adpet. And we would joke about the care and feeding of your personal adpet, so that your personal adpet can best care for and feed you. And if it helps, you can substitute the word adpet. I'm okay with that. And we also need to contemplate the deeper and really, truly marvelous mysteries of this event in nature that is each of our potential. And that's so much what the White Hot Yoga of the Heart is dedicated to exploring. So, Three Treasures of Life, Maroon, honoring Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. We begin with the adept, mysteries of lineage and mastery beyond both guru and aspirant centrism. And I'm reading here from our key points. Only a living adept of the heart and the white heat can manifest all three principles of activation for the sake of qualified aspirants and apprentices. Three principles of activation, if you recall, being transmission, education, evocation. And we should add here, for the sake of qualified aspirants and apprentices, to the White Hot Yoga of the Heart. All kinds of people can manifest these principles in their way in other contexts of transmission, teaching, realization, revelation, etc. Just as the heart gives rise to the white heat and activation as the other foundations of the way, the adept gives rise to the teaching and the community, and is thus the first and source treasure of the life of this work. We have capital L there on that life. From its original articulation in 1995, and that original articulation was in this book, White Hot Yoga of the Heart, the White Hot Yoga of the Heart. The White Hot Yoga of the Heart has brought forth breakthrough approaches to spiritual awakening and personal and relational growth, and especially to how adepts can best serve those who come to them for their help. Breakthrough approaches to how adepts can best serve those who approach them. New ways of perceiving and participating in the mysteries of lineage and mastering adept skills are crucial among this way's unprecedented innovations. The competent adept balances the old and the new, the established and the emergent. He or she honors ancestral lineage and carries it forward, while diverging from any inherited associations perspectives, or habits that do not serve those he or she is serving. It is human nature to cherish, protect, and prize anyone or anything that is a real treasure to us. Those who benefit from any adept's life and contributions also find ways to appropriately honor, cherish, and support him or her, truly for the benefit of all he or she serves. This mutual support, cherishing, and honoring bypasses guru-centrism, aspirant-centrism, and other imbalances through the continual work of mutual listening and disciplined attention to other relevant gateways of advanced evolutionary emergence in this yoga. So, for me, coming forth with these key points, which I think I've told you, or you may have otherwise heard, they all rushed into form in the course of about 12 hours from 10:30 or so one night to about the same time the next morning, just a day and a half before our White Hot Yoga of the Heart 3-day retreat in December 2014. And they represent the distillation of my life's work. And I don't know how many lifetimes' work before this. And this particular section, this cluster of key points about the adept, is one of the ones that I was, as these distilled, condensed essences were coming forward, I was most grateful and delighted, because they managed to, in my view, they managed to coalesce crucial essences of what is to be understood, and of forms of understanding that we should further cultivate as we go along. Just 1 second, I'm grabbing my phone here, as I forgot to bring my clock into the room, put it up against the wall. So, I think what I'd like to do first, before any more commentary and going through the key points one by one a little further, I'd like to read you an important essay in this book, or from an essay. I won't read the whole thing, but I'm going to read a bunch of it. From this book, The White Hot Yoga of the Heart. And it's the very last formal essay in the whole book. There's an afterword that comes later, but this is the final word on the subject at that time. And it's one of those that I've never heard too much response about. It was important for me to state it. It's become very obvious in recent times that this is one aspect of the White Hot Yoga of the Heart that doesn't really have room in the general culture of waking down, in part because it may seem to be guru-centric, but I propose it is not. And as you'll hear shortly, it's got a little bit of Sanskrit in it, which is also not a language we need to chuck in very much in order for our way to work. But as you've been aware, I've been bringing in a little bit over the course of these sessions of the virtual seminar because in this foundational source teaching on the White Hot Yoga of the Heart, it is, in my view, critical and auspicious for us to, at least in small concentrated doses, hearken back to the most ancient traditional roots of this White Hot Yoga of the Heart. So, the title of the essay is The Energy of the Rose Revisited, How the, quote, radiation therapy, unquote, of absolute self-reliance becomes a white hot yoga of love. Parenthesis, and then these words are Sanskrit, and there's little plus and equal signs, and hyphens between them. Or Mahagyan, Maha-Jnana, plus Mahatantra, Tantra, equals Parama Hridaya Mahabhava, Parama Hridaya, again hyphens there, Mahabhava. All right, then I start out the essay with a few points here. Thought you were going to escape without any heavy plunges into Sanskrit, did you? Well, indulge me. In this final essay, I want to summarize this White Hot Yoga of the Heart with respect to the traditional context of its appearance. A single and unbroken event is taking place throughout the whole evolutionary dynamic of this yoga. Being is coming fully alive. When being comes fully alive, it instantly, immediately, and forever transforms everyone and everything. I might want to edit that a little bit because there's no end point, but there are transition moments. So fully is probably something we'd want in quotation marks. But this mystery of instant, immediate, and forever transformation, well, I'll go on. We could say that this is the only real event happening in all cosmic and human history. That would be true, in a way. We could say that all spirituality has been groping or striving toward a grand fulfillment, an apotheosis of this great history of being. That too would be true, in a way. And then I go on, and I talk about my adept heart masters, heart gurus, Ramana Maharshi and Adida. I've talked with you a good deal about them already, just a little to summarize here. Ramana Maharshi brought the heart of being alive in a new way within an ancient tradition. His realization of the Supreme Self was vividly embodied. He spoke of and lived the heart of being as no other Advaitin in recorded history has done so. The current, the being force of Ramana's advent, lives today and always will live at Arunachala, his sacred mountain, the Hill of Fire, in South India, the hill which is considered to be the embodiment of Shiva, or in the Indian symbology, pure consciousness itself. Ramana Maharshi was a supreme master of Gyan, Jnana, which is a root that led to our word gnosis, in other words, or self-knowledge, in the classic Advaitic, non-dualistic style of self-realization. He lived as and demonstrated especially the liberating freedom of the transcendent self in relation to all cyclic and changing phenomena and the spirit of life itself. Davabasa, which was Adida's name at the time of the writing of this book, 1995, is a supreme master, he was then still alive, both of Gyan and of Tantra. He is the finding pioneer of divinely human self-realization and sacred marriage I would say, in his own being, not in the context of mutuality. He lives as and demonstrates both the liberating freedom and the world transformative love of the absolute self, the divine person, in that one's ineffable and simultaneous identity and play with all cyclic and changing phenomena, and the spirit of life itself. And I go on and say more here, especially about Adida and how he lived his work. I don't care to go back into that in any detail now. I will say that he, from his perspective, he had become married to the great principle of Shakti, the goddess. And it was on the basis of that supreme marriage in his own existence that he felt subsumed all other beings and things, all cosmic phenomena. I wasn't shy about all this. I mysteriously sprang loose from that path and found myself awake and married not to any god-man, because he considered himself the heart husband of all beings, but to the Supreme Devi, the goddess, in late 1992. So I, in my own way, found myself replicating this mystery of communion with the great divine other in female form, the goddess. And I've always made clear that this is the heart root of my life and work, and how in my life and work a form of absolute self-reliance, self-realization, transitioned into a white-hot yoga of love, the white-hot yoga of the heart. My work, as I've indicated, stands in closest alignment in many ways with that of, I'm going to say his final name, Adida. I too live as and demonstrate both the liberating freedom and the world transformative love of the absolute self, the divine person, in that one's ineffable and simultaneous identity and play with all cyclic and changing phenomena and the spirit of life itself. How amazing this is. My work has just barely begun. You will see more of its special graces and marvels over time. I'm remembering a scene from a movie that feels relevant to bring in here. I believe the actor's name was Anthony Andrews. He was a dashing young rake. And the actress was Jane Seymour back, this must have been in the 70s or 80s when the movie was made. It was called The Scarlet Pimpernel. And they played impassioned lovers in the tumultuous times of the French Revolution. And she was a great Parisian actress, and he was a British nobleman. And they fall in love. It's very dangerous for them to fall in love. At one point, they're standing in a doorway, and he's expressing something about their being together. And she says something like, my lord, the pace, it's going too fast. And he says to her, my heart dictates the pace. Well, in these kinds of communications, my big H heart, the heart of hearts, requires this kind of communication. I'm not at liberty to be what I call humble-de-mumble, modest about this. As you'll hear in a moment or two, I acknowledge this dimension of the adept nature, and mine in particular as the founder, and the foundational transmission continuously of this white-hot yoga of the heart. into which I'm thrilled to have welcomed Linda Ma long ago as a fellow adept, even long before we started teaching the White Hot Yoga of the Heart again openly, which has been several years now. As I speak this in early 2015, and into which we both are greatly desiring that significant numbers of other adepts appear in our lifetimes. We want this White Hot Yoga of the Heart to churn out some adepts, cook some. But that's a significant yoga, and we can't afford to play fast and loose with it. Or, again, to be inappropriately modest and self-effacing. Humility is crucial in this, in the face of all phenomena. False modesty, no. And disguising of deeper truths, absolutely not. It appears to me that I have flashed into the white-hot stage of heart realization rapidly, and without much development of secondary powers or yogic signs of spiritual evolution. They were implicit in some of the events that took place during my spiritual quest. But really, I am just a man here with this white-hot heart, burning alive in and as my own form and the whole cosmos. I have very little psychic grandeur. I'm not given to visions, to subtle expansions of the soul, at least not yet. I'm without powers, at least many of the kinds of powers that are considered to be true emblems, like badges on the chest of a true adept. It is just that the power of the heart, capital P, capital H, radiates in, as, and through me in its white-hot intensity. I, too, am a force for the liberation and translation, the divine ultimate transformation of all beings and things, whatever that could possibly mean. That's why I call it the next whatever, with capital letters. And I stake my claim in the ground of all that is, as a consummate realizer and adept of a particular yoga. I too am a master of both Supreme Gyan and Supreme Tantra. This body-mind is not perfected, nor is it perfectly conformed to the white-hot heart's truth. I do not make such a claim. Indeed, it appears to me that my faults and foibles, which I've had fun poking fun at here and there throughout this book, are specifically given in the divine for all of our benefit at this particular moment of the work. I am not at liberty either to manipulate them or to pretend that they don't exist. Thus, these psychophysical weaknesses and limits in me are given in part so that you too may realize, oh, if he could do it with this weakness, that limitation, then so can I. It is in the nature of the heart's endless transformation of everything to render each adept's body-mind more and more fully attuned and conformed to its divine genius of being force. And I go on to say, I expect there will be more signs and expressions over the course of time. I'm not grasping for such things, but I never could possibly have written this book in my first birth life. I could never have served the awakening of anyone else. These are early indicators of what is likely to come, and in every area of my life, it's just the way that the heart unfolds. It's the energy of the rose, the opening of this bud that then blooms forth fragrantly. And in this case, white heats the world. So I talk about these Sanskrit words. The White Hot Yoga of the Heart can be termed in Sanskrit Paramahridaya Mahabhava. I talk about Mahagyan, or great self-realization. self-knowledge, Mahatantra, or great unification of the apparently mutually exclosed opposites in our experience. That's the deeper meaning of Tantra. It's not necessarily about or taking form through sexuality. In my case, that's certainly been part of it. But Parama means supreme. Hridaya is the heart, capital H. Mahabhava is the great arbor. And I'll read this piece here. Bhava means ardor, rapture, superheated ecstasy. It is one of the rasas, or sublime sentiments, in Indian aesthetic theory. Maha means great. The term Mahabhava has been used by certain devotional traditions of India to denote extreme states of spiritual rapture and communion or samadhi. I find that this term, in combination with Parama Hridaya, captures the essence of what I mean by the white heat of the heart. I like not having a color reference, a term that would indicate whiteness or clear white, in this Sanskrit phrase. The phrase white hot connotes something that is beyond all color. It's also beyond all temperature. That something includes, transcends, and also continuously transforms absolutely everyone and everything. That something is the isness of absolutely everyone and everything, as far as I am given to see it, to notice. So the white heat of the heart is Parama Hridaya Mahabhava, and I am using an ancient term that can kick up a lot of reaction alert here, Sat Guru. The words simply mean not the ultimate person who was ever born, but a guru, one who leads one from ignorance to wisdom, from darkness to light, and who especially reveals Sat, the beingness, the truth, the ultimate reality of our nature. I don't use that word a lot. You'll hardly hear. I prefer adept. Fine with me. Not merely a teacher of something, even a teacher who transmits. There's more to this mystery than that. There is being that beingness, you see. That's the nature of any adept in the white hot yoga of the heart. And someone who knows, therefore, that they are participating at the 0 point that is the mysterious essence of everyone and everything. That sun in the heart of hearts, that is the same sun in all hearts, and is beyond space and time, at the same time that it is the very beingness of all that is and reveals itself in and as and through space-time. This knowledge, if you want to call it knowledge, this certainty, this feeling knowing beingness, this amming, this is the great, to use another Sanskrit word, siddhi, S-I-D-D-H-I, typically translated to mean power, like the power of clairvoyance or the power to levitate objects. The great siddhi, capital S, of the white hot heart is to abide in and as this very essence of the mystery of all that is, and to stand in all being and all becoming, supporting, holding, supporting, and spontaneously blessing all that is, all who are, all sentient beings, all universes, while still, as I've said variously throughout this book, I have an essay in here where I call myself a space admiral, phrase given to me an honorific given to me by my sister Ellen long ago, honoring the fact that I can appear to be far spacier than a space cadet, an old phrase. So with all the faults and foibles, with all the limitations, this undeservable grace becomes concentrated. It takes root in. It consumes progressively the body-mind of each adept, and that's part of what we're talking about in this book, in these key points, in this white-hot yoga of the heart. That is to be studied if it's not yet understandable, respected if it has not yet become altogether obvious, and gradually not only recognized whole-beingly in the other who is the adept, but also to whatever degree it's possible in anyone's given lifetime, to be incarnated, to be participated in such that we become that ourselves. So I choose, and we've acknowledged in these key points, and we've worked very, very hard over 20 plus years, during which, as I'll say more, especially in the fourth triad, the stages of the journey, during which this body-mind person has been continuously refined and tempered, superheated, and including by the events of my life and work, my interactions with others of all kinds. I'm a much more mature man. It wasn't, in some ways it was completely appropriate, paradoxically, to retire the term adept from most of those 20 plus years. Somewhere not long after 1998. The last 15 years, I'm pretty sure, throughout that time. And then to come into it again at a stage of my own maturity, and Linda Mom more and more at a stage of her maturity, where we not only can body this adeptship forward explicitly and overtly, but we must. We can't not talk about it. We can't not welcome you to learn about it and to, if it appeals to you as such, cherish and prize as the foundational treasure of the life, the adept. So I do this. Part of what we gained by all this is freedom from how my immediate heart gurus, the ones in this lifetime, Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, Bhagavan Adida, Avatar Adida, titles that they were given or took, in Adida's case, took. And I recognize these truths about them, and there's a whole lot of stuff about the way they could show up that I will not go near and never have, even though sometimes people have been fearful that I was going there. Yeah. Hard to make sense of all this stuff. And there is part of the reason for this, so to speak, downgrading of the nomenclature and, humbling of the form of presentation has been because this organism needed to be purified, refined, tempered, made fit for the ultimate stage of not only the rest of this human life, but also how my work is to be, and Linda Ma's with me, how our presences and our teachings, our offerings are to be bodied forth into the world, and how we are alive and as ongoing living presences to be contacted and related to in the years and decades and generations, who knows how long to come. So it's been a good 20-year tempering. And then I come back to what I wrote here, and I realize I'm checking time. Yes, I need to keep moving here. This one may be a bit longer. Bear with me. By all this, we've earned clarity about many important different ways to go about being an adept, and how the white hot yoga of the heart is in so many ways truly, all the more now than it was when I wrote this book, a breakthrough way of self-realization and sacred marriage. For Westerners, in quotes, people of a Western, a world-embracing disposition who are, however, deeply attracted to the ultimate transcendental realizations and mysteries, with no fundamental differences. Someone spoke yesterday between the psyche and the soma, the spirit, mind, intelligence, and the body, matter, material, energetic. The white hot yoga of the heart marks a transition, I propose, in the evolutionary cycle not only of human beings but of the cosmos. Its appearance at this time is, among other things, an immense homage and tribute to the heart masters who have come before, and to all those who have toiled in the past and do so in the present, to bring the spirit of being to life in and as the world. It's not the ultimate path of all paths. It is a particular, special, and unique part of this great transition that is taking place. It marks that transition. I'm not trying to propose that it summarizes it and is the be-all and end-all expression of it. No, I don't think anything is. All of this is bigger than any form can possibly be. Nobody owns the heart or the white heat. Nobody owns being and becoming. So I'm not going to go into the details of the radiation therapy here. We'll have time to talk about that perhaps more. But that sun of the heart of being then surely dawns as incontrovertible realization of the divinely human self and marriage to the divine being in all cosmic and human forms. The wonder and the marvel is that this dawn never ceases to increase in brightness, in joy, in freedom and love. That very same sun that dawns then in and as your own heart is that which really without effort performs, I'll summarize this, performs the radiation therapy of absolute capital S self-reliance. It attracts such reliance of the entire body, mind, and soul. That same sun completes this therapy, and this is language I would change now, to the degree of a complete healing of the core wound of separateness in every cell of your own body-mind. What really gets healed is the spirit-matter split, which is where that separateness most fundamentally resides. The difference between the two, if it's not clear to you, is something it's really to your advantage to discover. Read the afterword of Healing the Spirit-Matter Split, or listen to it. I summarize it there. Then you stand free, radiant, and awake, alive in your ever-consummating union with the divine beloved in whatever forms he or she appears to you. And beyond that, the same Son of your own I am, you, capital Y-O-U, the very and only one, continue to shine until you flash further forward at some point into the most catalytic white heat of divinely human love. And who knows what all that represents. I wanted to bring that in. In part because it gives you evidence that this has all been alive here this whole time of my work, and especially if you have some history in the general movement of waking down. I never took this out of print. I never proposed that it wasn't true at the same time, as I just honored. There was, as it turns out, a tempering and refinement. I was already an adept of the white-hot yoga of the heart when I began teaching it, 1994, 1995. But for its mature appearance to take place, I had to mature. So, let's go over some key points here. I'll just refer to ones that at this moment appear to me to be important to speak. Just as the heart gives rise to the white heat and activation as the other two foundations of the way, the adept gives rise to the teaching and the community and is thus the first and source treasure of the life of this work. I've talked about this already, but it's in, I think, previous sessions. It's important not to abstract the transmission or the teaching away from the local, concrete human person of your living adept. And it's important, I would say, to tread with care. If you don't altogether understand what a breakthrough this teaching and this community are in the world, it's to your advantage to approach your personal adpet with great care and respect. Not meaning you should bow down and surrender yourself. Absolute self-reliance. That's what I want for you. Never, ever, ever have I ever wanted submission, the giving over of anyone's self to this one. That is a piece of the old way that no longer pertains. And that's why I champion this radiation therapy of absolute self-reliance, meaning becoming so confident of the sun rising in and as your heart of hearts that you wouldn't dream of sacrificing your fundamental autonomy and your capacity to individuate in a fundamentally free and most empowered way, which is appreciative of teaching and community, which is capable of the life of mutuality, and is sanctified in deep humility, clay feet firmly on the ground, looking under the rocks of your stuff even while you're shining so radiantly and has this white heat. So, the first and source treasure of the life of this work. And I talk about these breakthrough approaches, and especially to how adepts can best serve those who come to them for their help. I just summarized one of them passionately. The breakthrough here is that the profound and ecstatic communion in the white heat that was the lifeblood of my time with both Ramana and Adida, and remains so today. Yeah. Interestingly and paradoxically, though I never ceased to acknowledge them, I did have to cut cords with them and all the other exponents of the entire hypermasculine tradition so that this work could come forward freely. And it was a challenge. It was a wild leap off a cliff. Because I was basically saying to them and the whole tradition that has preceded us, that bears any fragments, any patina, any scent of hypermasculinity, this spirit-matter splitness, the residual kind of lurking, pernicious, insidious pieces of spirit-matter split that hardly anybody notices, even today. People who are preaching and living great embodiment and unification. And all of us, none of us are completely over the spirit-matter split. It is a huge evolutionary cycle that will take generations for culture to shine forth in fundamental freedom from hypermasculinity, however far any individual gets. But that's a big piece of the breakthrough approaches that started coming forth from the very beginning of my work. And you see, it's not reducible to adding mutuality to waking and down. Not that waking down and mutuality was created that way, but some people are under the impression that mutuality is itself the breakthrough, and it's a kind of a nice thing to add. No! Mutuality is most fully lived, and none of us can do it perfectly. There aren't criteria for how to do it perfectly. But mutuality, most fundamentally lived and embraced, is an expression of the recognition of fundamental freedom from the spirit-matter split. Therefore, knowing that what is to be realized is not merely absolute self-reliance in some kind of hyper-individuation and autonomy, but is simultaneously, we're jumping ahead to the pillars of the path, is simultaneously aligning continually to communion, to the other, to the mystery of the other, to the irreducible otherness of the other, even while there is this irreducible sameness. It's mad and maddening and hard to live out and keep finding your truth and speaking it in the challenges of such sensitivity and communion. New ways of perceiving and participating in the mysteries of lineage and the mastering of adept skills are crucial among this way's unprecedented innovations. And we will be talking about those new ways as we go. I've just been referring to some of them. And you see, part of what's happened is, as my tempering, purification, and refinement reached at least this stage, I'm not about to propose there isn't more to come, but as it reached this stage of maturity, it was the great blessing to me of discovering, a great blessing of discovering that I was becoming reunited more fully than in some ways ever before with my lineage predecessors, the Heart Masters specifically, but also, if you saw my whole office here, it's also my temple. I have pictures of all these different adepts and images, statues of the goddess, various forms. Some of the adepts are alive today, very few. Most are no longer embodied here as they were. But I'm reunited, happily and gratefully, to the whole global living lineage, but also my way and our way remain free of competent adept, balances the old and the new, the established and the emergent. He or she honors ancestral lineage and carries it forward while diverging from any inherited associations, perspectives, or habits that do not serve those he or she is serving. It is human nature to cherish, protect, and prize anyone or anything that is a real treasure to us. Those who benefit from any adept's life, adpets, benefit from any adpet's life and contributions, also find ways to appropriately honor, cherish, and support him or her, truly for the benefit of all he or she serves. This mutual support, cherishing, and honoring bypasses guru-centrism, aspirant-centrism, and other imbalances, I'll come back to that word, through the continual work of mutual listening and disciplined attention to other relevant gateways of advanced evolutionary emergence in this yoga. So we're going to be exploring how this mutual support, cherishing, and honoring can take place best on the basis of deep and true appreciation, which is one of the favorite new terms for me, one of my favorite new terms that merits a whole gateway in the White Hot Yoga of the Heart. It's been suggested that Linda Ma's and my work is guru-centric. We take rather fierce issue with that. Respectful, but forceful, because we don't find it to be true. People may superficially get that impression, but if they closely attend both to how we speak it and to how we live it, that's not what is happening here. However, we also don't find that having the path characterized by aspirant centrism is healthful in the long run. In the early stages of one's awakening process, in our general field of work, the Waking Down work, White Hot Yoga, the Heart work, our including the many teachers and practitioners, mentors, participants of Waking Down. In general, for most people, there is a necessity to kind of concentrate with their adept, but not in a way that gives away their proper, violates their own self-boundaries, gives away their autonomy, sacrifices their own wisdom and discernment. That's never the teaching, never the path in this approach. The old style of the guru knows you better than yourself, that doesn't get through the door, never has, never will, into this work. But the capacity for the aspirant to listen to and to value and in some occasions and instances experiment with trusting what the adept or the teacher says and suggests, even if it feels counter to how they feel most moved to be and to go forward. That kind of experiment can take place within the proper and appropriate dynamic of the adept-aspirant, adept-apprentice relationships. And what makes this really work is not that we all get it right the first time. I've said this from early on. I certainly have gotten it very wrong many, many times and continue to this day. Every next day I can look back on the day before and think, well, I sure wish I'd been able to do that piece a little different. Or, wow, I didn't quite get where that person was coming from. Mutual listening and hearing. Mutual seeing. Looking and seeing. Mutual meeting and being met. Practicing these to the best of our ability. Sometimes relationships, even so, break down. It's painful. If humanity is going to get really, really good at this stuff, we got a long way to go. If we all in this work, breakthrough as it may be, if we're going to get really, really good at it, it's going to take a lot more work on many of our parts. Maybe in some ways we're quite a bit better than others, and I think that's true. They have their own gifts that they offer to us and others. We're all in this together. Many different laboratories. That's where the ultimate heart reality of being is working its way into embodying as so many human beings together, in themselves and together. So disciplined attention also to the other relevant gateways of this yoga will help us continually find the right balance of focus and individuation, focus and communion. Listening to and entering into deep sympathy with the other, standing in and preserving our own fundamental self-reliance, fundamental self-truth. So, I think I've done it for the adept. Hope this speaks to you. I look forward, with those of you who are the charter journeyers in the White Hot Yoga of the Heart virtual seminar. I look forward to our conversation coming up shortly about all this and the continuing conversations about this. We'll have opportunity to go into more of the practical, tangible details of how do we do this mutual cherishing, honoring, and protecting of this particular treasure, the adept. How is that best to be engaged in this white hot yoga of the heart in a manner that honors and fulfills these principles optimally in any given situation and time and place, relationship and environment. It's been an enormous release to finally be able to make this communication once again, having written pieces of it way back in the day in the book by this title, to be speaking it at the outset of the White Hot Yoga of the Heart's mature emergence into the world. And I'm so grateful to you. Even if I don't know you personally, I'm so grateful to you for getting to the end of this session where I can tell you, thank you for listening. Thank you for looking. Thank you for reaching to meet me here, Linda Ma here, your adepet of the White Hot Yoga of the Heart, wherever and whenever you are encountering this and exploring this way, perhaps already deeply involved in it. Blessings on your journey. Thank you for being here.